3 miles beneath Antarctica's ancient ice, a single heartbeat pulsed through the darkness. Slow, steady, almost frozen in time. Inside her crystalline pod, Colonel Emma Reeves dreamed of fire and ash, of the day humanity made its last desperate gambit for survival. The memory of Beijing's destruction still burned behind her eyelids, a miniature sun blooming where 12 million souls once lived. She'd watched it happen from the International Space Station, helpless as the Craxi warships turned Earth's most populous city into a cautionary tale. That was the day Earth's governments realized they couldn't win, not conventionally. Deep in her cryogenic sleep, Emma's augmented mind replayed the classified briefing that followed. Project Lazarus, General Morrison had called it, his weathered face grave as he addressed the hand-picked volunteers. A long-term contingency plan. Very long-term. The room had been silent as he explained what they were really asking for. Soldiers willing to sleep for centuries, enhanced with experimental neural interfaces, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. Think carefully, Morrison had warned. If you volunteer, you'll outlive everyone you know. Your families. Your friends. They'll be dust in the ground when you wake. If you wake. Emma remembered looking around that room, at the faces of Earth's finest warriors. Navy SEALs, Russian Spetsnaz, British SAS, Chinese Special Forces, the best of the best, brought together by humanity's desperate need for survival. Not a single one had walked away. In her frozen state, Emma's consciousness flickered through the memories of what followed. The surgeries to implant the neural interfaces, the genetic modifications to help their bodies survive extended cryostasis, the combat drills with their new augmentations, learning to process information at impossible speeds to interface directly with technology. They'd become something more than human, even before the freeze. The last memory was always the hardest, saying goodbye to her daughter. Sophie, 8 years old, trying so hard to be brave. "I'll make you proud, Mom," she'd whispered, hugging Emma tight. "I'll tell my kids about you, and they'll tell their kids. We'll never forget." A quantum ripple disturbed Emma's frozen dreaming. Guardian, the AI system monitoring their slumber, was active, processing data through the facility's vast network of hidden satellites. Even in cryostasis, Emma's enhanced mind could sense the AI's calculations, a ghost of digital consciousness brushing against her own. Something was changing up there, in the world they'd left behind. The Craxi occupation force was shifting, their numbers fluctuating. A succession crisis in their empire, pulling ships and troops away from Earth. Tactical assessments flowed through Guardian's processors, probability matrices shifting and realigning. Not yet, the AI decided. The moment wasn't perfect. The frozen army would sleep a while longer. In the vast chamber around Emma's pod, 10,000 other soldiers slumbered in their crystalline chambers, each connected to Guardian through their neural interfaces. United even in sleep, their enhanced minds had done something unexpected over the centuries. They'd grown, evolved, formed connections that their creators never anticipated. Sometimes, in the depths of cryostasis, they shared dreams, memories of Earth as it was, visions of what it could be again. 3 miles above them, bitter Antarctic winds howled across a transformed landscape. Massive Craxi mining operations scared the ice, their machines chewing through the ancient glacier in search of Earth's buried resources. The aliens never thought to look deeper, never imagined that far below their feet, humanity's vengeance slept, dreaming of retribution. One day, Guardian would wake them. One day, the Craxi would learn why Earth's legends always warned about what slept beneath the ice. Until then, Colonel Emma Reeves continued her frozen vigil, her heartbeat marking time like a war drum, counting down the moments until humanity's frozen army would rise to reclaim their world. The setting sun cast an eerie purple glow through Earth's perpetually gray skies, its light filtering through layers of industrial toxins and mining dust. Marcus Chen wiped acidic sweat from his brow as he trudged home through the sprawling slave city of New Beijing, built atop the glassed ruins of humanity's past. 3 centuries of Craxi rule had transformed Earth beyond recognition. Where mountains once stood, strip mines bored kilometers into the planet's crust. Oceans, once blue, now churned with chemical runoff in sickly shades of green and brown. The air itself tasted of metal and ash, filtered through mandatory respirators that marked humans as property of the Craxi Mining Consortium. Marcus shuffled through the dimly lit streets of Worker Block 17, keeping his eyes down as a Craxi overseer stalked past on its 4 reverse-jointed legs. The alien's neural whip hummed with potential energy, a reminder of the price of defiance. 3 lashes would stop your heart. Marcus had seen it happen too many times. Inside his cramped dwelling unit, Marcus found his grandmother exactly where he'd left her that morning, sitting by the window, her weathered hands working on what looked like random scraps of fabric. But Marcus knew better. Sarah Chen was one of the memory keepers, those who preserved the true history of Earth, through patterns woven into everyday items. "Tell me again, Gran," Marcus whispered, settling beside her. "Tell me about before." Sarah's fingers never stopped moving, but her voice took on the careful cadence of someone reciting precious truth. "We were kings and queens of our own world once," she began, the words passed down through generations. "We built cities that touched the clouds. We walked on our moon. We sent our machines to dance among the stars." A distant explosion rocked their dwelling. Another mine collapse, probably. Nobody would count the dead. Nobody but the memory keepers. The Craxi thought they could break us. Sarah continued, her needle flashing in the dim light. "They destroyed our cities, poisoned our sky, turned us into slaves. But they didn't understand what they were dealing with." She leaned closer, her voice dropping even lower. "Humans aren't just another species to be conquered. We're survivors. And somewhere out there, our guardians sleep, waiting for the right moment to wake." Marcus had heard variants of this story all his life, whispered in slave barracks, passed between workers in the mines, coded into the patterns of worn clothing. Most dismissed it as fantasy, a fairy tale to comfort children. But there was something in his grandmother's eyes when she spoke of it, something that went beyond mere hope. "Some say they sleep beneath the ice," Sarah murmured, her fingers tracing a pattern that might have been a map. 10,000 warriors, enhanced beyond normal humans, preserved by technology the Craxi never found. They sleep and they wait, gathering their strength, watching through hidden eyes for the perfect moment to strike. Another explosion, closer this time. Warning sirens began to wail through Worker Block 17. Sarah quickly folded her work away as heavy footsteps approached their level. Craxi enforcers conducting another random loyalty check. "Remember, Marcus," Sarah whispered urgently. "Remember what I've taught you. Our bodies may be enslaved, but our minds remain free. The Craxi think they've won, think they've turned Earth's children into docile workers. But in our genes and our souls, we remember what we once were. We remember that we're descended from hunters, from warriors, from explorers who dared to reach for the stars." The door slammed open, filling their small room with the hulking silhouette of a Craxi enforcer. Marcus felt the familiar tingle of a neural scan washing over him, searching for signs of seditious thoughts. He kept his mind carefully blank, focusing on tomorrow's work quota as he'd been trained. But deep inside, in a place the neural scanners couldn't reach, he held tight to his grandmother's words. Somewhere out there, humanity's guardians were sleeping. And one day, they would wake to remind the galaxy why Earth's people should never have been enslaved. The first sound Colonel Emma Reeves heard after 3 centuries of silence was her own heartbeat, accelerating from its near-frozen state to a warrior's steady rhythm. The cryopod's crystal walls melted away like morning frost, revealing Guardian's soft blue monitoring lights pulsing through the vast underground chamber. "Welcome back, Colonel Reeves." Guardian's voice resonated directly through her neural interface. "The date is October 17, 2457. Primary awakening protocols are in effect." Emma's enhanced mind blazed to life, processing centuries of archived data in a cascading flood of information. She saw Earth's transformation through Guardian's hidden satellites, the spread of Craxi mining operations, the growth of slave cities, the slow death of entire ecosystems. But beneath the horror, she detected something else: weakness. The Craxi Empire is fracturing, she thought, the neural interface translating her thoughts into data queries. Their high commander died without naming a successor. Correct. Guardian confirmed. 87% of their occupation fleet has been recalled for the succession conflict. Earth's garrison is at minimal strength. This is the moment we have waited for. Emma swung her legs over the pod's edge, marveling at how her augmented muscles responded despite centuries of disuse. The neural interface had evolved during their long sleep, creating new pathways, new capabilities. She could feel the facility's systems as extensions of her own body, could sense the quantum processors humming beneath the ice. "Begin awakening sequence for all units," she commanded. Around her, 10,000 pods began their defrost cycle. But something was different. She could feel them, her soldiers, their minds brushing against hers like leaves in a digital wind. The first to wake was Major James Rodriguez, her second in command. His pod hissed open 2 rows away, and Emma felt his consciousness snap into focus within their shared neural space. His surprise mirrored her own. "Colonel," he gasped, both aloud and through the interface. "I can feel everything. Everyone. What happened to us down here?" Before Emma could respond, more pods opened. Each awakening soldier joined their expanding neural network, their shared consciousness growing stronger, more complex. 3 centuries of linked dreams and evolving technology had transformed them into something unprecedented, a human hive mind that retained all the fierce individuality that made their species unique. "Guardian," Emma broadcast through their shared connection. "Status report on our combat capabilities." The AI's response flowed through them all simultaneously, shared understanding blooming like sunrise. Their weapons have been maintained in perfect condition. Their stealth systems have been upgraded by automated factories deep within the facility, and their neural interfaces had evolved far beyond original specifications, allowing them to control technology with a thought, to share sensory information instantly across their network. Through the facility's sensors, Emma felt the Craxi mining operations 3 miles above them. The aliens were stripping away the ice sheet, moving inevitably closer to their hidden base, but they were about to learn that some secrets buried in Earth's ice were never meant to be found. "Colonel," Major Rodriguez said, now fully suited in his powered armor. "The troops are ready. What are your orders?" Emma stood on the command platform, feeling the strength of 10,000 enhanced minds united with her own. Through their shared neural network, she broadcast memories of Earth as it once was: blue skies, clean waters, free humans reaching for the stars. Then she showed them what the Craxi had done to their world, their people, their legacy. The responding wave of controlled fury nearly overwhelmed their network. 3 centuries ago, Emma spoke, her words resonating through neural interfaces and across the vast chamber. "We made a promise. We swore that humanity would rise again, that Earth would be free. The Craxi think they've won. They think they've turned our world into their private mining colony, our people into their slaves. They're about to learn how wrong they are." She drew her plasma rifle, the weapon interfacing seamlessly with her augmented systems. Above them, the Craxi continued their mining operations, unaware that humanity's vengeance was about to rise from the ice. "Battle squads, prepare for Ghost Protocol," Emma commanded. "It's time to remind the galaxy why Earth's apex predators should never have been caged." The Craxi mining outpost never saw death coming. Through the howling Antarctic storm, a dozen shadows moved like liquid darkness across the ice. Colonel Reeves led her ghost squad through winds that would freeze unaugmented humans solid in seconds, their enhanced bodies turning the lethal environment into a weapon. Security grid mapped, Lieutenant Sarah Walker's thoughts flowed through their shared neural network. 18 guards, 42 slave workers, and 3 overseers, main reactors in the northeast quadrant. Emma acknowledged with a neural pulse, feeling her squad's movements through their linked consciousness. The storm wasn't natural. Gardan had hijacked weather control satellites, creating a cover of wind and ice that blinded Craxi sensors. Now they would learn what humanity's frozen warriors had become. Major Rodriguez's voice whispered through their network. Slave workers are congregated in the southern barracks. Neural dampeners ready to protect them from the blast. The squad moved in perfect synchronization, their augmented bodies flowing between security scanners with inhuman precision. Emma touched a frozen wall, her neural interface connecting instantly with the outpost's systems. Through her enhanced senses, she felt the facility's electronic pulse, its weaknesses laid bare. Remember, she broadcast to her team, "We're not just soldiers anymore. 3 centuries of neural evolution have made us something new. Let's show them what that means." The attack took exactly 47 seconds. Lieutenant Walker's team moved first, their consciousness merged into a single hunting entity. They flowed through maintenance ducts like living mercury, their enhanced strength tearing through metal as if it were paper. In the security center, Craxi guards died before they could comprehend the shadows solidifying around them. Emma led the strike on the reactor core, her neural interface dancing through the facility's security protocols. The Craxi's most advanced AI defenses crumbled before 3 centuries of evolved human consciousness. She felt her squad's exhilaration through their shared network as they moved like extensions of her own body. A Craxi overseer rounded a corner, its neural whip humming to life. Before it could strike, Major Rodriguez emerged from the shadows, his enhanced speed making him a blur. The alien's exoskeleton crumpled under his augmented strength, its death cry silenced by the howling storm outside. Reactor control secured, Emma broadcast, initiating overload sequence. Through their shared consciousness, she felt Walker's team reaching the slave barracks. The human workers stared in awe at their liberators, figures in advanced armor, moving with impossible grace. Neural dampeners deployed, creating a protective field around the slaves. "You're being evacuated," Walker told them, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "The free human resistance will protect you. Tell them the frozen army has awakened." Emma felt the reactor's building crescendo through her neural interface. Her consciousness danced through its systems, turning the Craxi's own technology against them. They had spent centuries learning to manipulate such energies in their shared dreams beneath the ice. "Ghost Squad, synchronize consciousness for withdrawal," she commanded. Through their neural network, 12 minds merged into one. They moved as a single entity, their enhanced bodies flowing through the facility like living shadows, each soldier instantaneously aware of the other's positions and movements. The rescued workers were already aboard stealth transports, vanishing into the storm. Emma's squad retreated to their predetermined positions, their shared consciousness calculating trajectories and timing with inhuman precision. The reactor explosion turned night into day. The blast wave rolled across the ice, but Emma's team had already vanished into their hidden network of tunnels and caves. Through Guardian satellites, they watched the Craxi facility disappear into a molten crater. In their underground command center, the squad disconnected from their merged consciousness, individual personalities re-emerging like swimmers surfacing from deep water. The neural integration had become smoother since their awakening, more natural. They were learning to be both one and many, a new form of human evolution born from necessity and 3 centuries of linked dreams. First strike successful, Emma broadcast to the waiting army below the ice. The Craxi will find no evidence of what happened. Only rumors will spread, whispers of ghosts in the storm, of shadows that move like liquid night, of humanity's vengeance finally awakening. Through their vast neural network, she felt 10,000 soldiers preparing for their own missions. The hunt had begun, and Earth's frozen army was only beginning to show their true power. Marcus Chen's hands trembled as he descended into mining shaft Delta 7, the deepest excavation in New Beijing's eastern quarter. Something had changed in the past week. Craxi overseers were agitated, security patrols had doubled, and whispers spread through the slave barracks about entire outposts vanishing in the southern ice. The lift groaned as it carried him and 30 other workers into Earth's depths. Through his scratched respirator, he could smell the familiar stench of molten rock and chemical exhaust. But today felt different. The air seemed charged with invisible electricity. He felt it before he saw it, a ripple in the stale mine air, like reality folding in on itself. A figure materialized from the shadows, its advanced armor unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. Workers gasped, but no alarm sounded. The figure's helmet dissolved like liquid metal, revealing a woman's face that seemed to hold centuries of purpose. "I am Colonel Emma Reeves," she said, her voice carrying through their neural compliance implants on a frequency the Craxi couldn't monitor. 300 years ago, humanity's last free army went to sleep beneath the ice. Today, we wake you up. She reached out, touching Marcus's temple. The world exploded into light. Through some impossible technology, 3 centuries of hidden history poured into his mind. He saw Earth as it once was. Cities that scraped the sky, ships that sailed between stars, humans standing tall and free. He saw the Craxi invasion, the desperate last stand, the 10,000 warriors who chose to sleep until the moment was right. The Craxi didn't just enslave our bodies. Emma's voice resonated in his thoughts. They tried to erase our history, our identity, our pride. But they failed. In your DNA, in your dreams, you remembered. Now, remember more. Around him, other workers were receiving the same vision, their faces transformed by dawning recognition and carefully contained rage. Marcus felt something awaken in his blood, the heritage of a species that had survived ice ages, crossed oceans, and reached for the stars. "Your compliance implants have been reprogrammed," Emma continued. "They're now connected to our neural network. When the signal comes, you'll know what to do. Until then, maintain your routine. But share what you've seen, carefully, secretly, but constantly. Every slave on Earth needs to remember who they really are." She showed them more. Glimpses of the frozen army's first strikes, of liberation operations happening worldwide, of an awakening that would shake the galaxy. The Craxi thought they'd turned humans into docile workers. They were about to learn what happens when you cage apex predators. "Your grandmother," Emma said directly to Marcus, "is a memory keeper. Tell her this pattern." She transmitted a sequence of numbers and symbols that made perfect sense to his newly awakened mind. "She'll understand. It's time to weave the final tapestry." The colonel's armor rippled, and she began to fade back into shadow. "Humanity's kind sleep is over," her voice echoed in their enhanced implants. "When you hear the thunder, rise up. Remind them why Earth's children were never meant to be slaves." As suddenly as she'd appeared, she was gone. The miners stood in shocked silence for a moment before quickly resuming their work as a Craxi overseer approached. But Marcus could feel the difference in the air, the subtle hum of awakened implants, the shared consciousness of remembered pride. That night, Marcus ran home through crowded streets that suddenly felt alive with secret purpose. He found his grandmother at her usual place by the window, her aged hands moving through familiar patterns. "Gran," he whispered, transmitting the sequence Emma had given him. Sarah Chen's fingers froze mid-stitch. Tears filled her eyes as she received the message hidden in the numbers, the confirmation of every story she'd kept alive through decades of patient resistance. "So it's true," she breathed. "They're awake. Our guardians are finally awake." Her hands resumed their work with renewed vigor, weaving a pattern that would spread through the underground network of memory keepers. "Tell me everything, grandson. Tell me about the frozen army that's come to set us free." Above them, hidden satellites shifted in orbit, preparing for humanity's last and greatest uprising. The Craxi's long nightmare was about to begin. The Craxi High Command's response came at dawn, A fleet of Extinction-class dreadnoughts dropping out of hyperspace, their massive silhouettes turning day to night over Earth's major population centers. From her position on the Antarctic ridge, Colonel Emma Reeves watched their arrival through enhanced vision, a fierce smile playing across her face. Right on schedule, she broadcast through the neural network. Guardian. Status of Operation Thunderstrike. All pieces in position, Colonel, the AI responded. The Kraxi committed 97% of their remaining military forces to this response. Their other colonial worlds are virtually undefended. The leading dreadnought moved into position over New Beijing, its weapon systems powering up with an ominous crimson glow. Through their shared consciousness, Emma felt her army's anticipation. 3 centuries of planning had led to this moment. This is Kraxi High Commander Vex Thor. A harsh voice boomed through every communication channel on Earth. Your pitiful resistance ends now. Surrender the insurgents, or we will sterilize this planet sector by sector. Emma's enhanced mind connected with Guardian's orbital systems, watching as the Kraxi ships deployed in a standard extinction pattern. They were following their species' most basic military doctrine. When faced with serious resistance, respond with overwhelming force. They never did understand us, Major Rodriguez commented through their neural link. He stood beside her on the ridge, their armor adapting to match the ice and snow. 300 years, and they still think like hive-mind insects. Below them, in the sprawling slave cities, millions of humans waited. Their compliance implants had been silently reprogrammed over the past weeks, connected to the frozen army's neural network. Emma could feel their collective consciousness humming with controlled fury. All units, prepare for synchronized assault, she broadcast. Remember your training. Remember what we became during our long sleep. Most importantly, she paused, feeling the weight of 3 centuries. Remember what they took from us. The Kraxi dreadnoughts began their final positioning. In New Beijing, Marcus Chen stood at his assigned mining station, his grandmother's last pattern clutched in his hand. Around the world, memory keepers prepared to transmit their final coded messages. Interesting. Guardian's thoughts flickered through their network. The Kraxi are using their older command protocols. They still haven't detected the quantum virus we uploaded during our raids. Emma's smile turned predatory. Initiate Operation Thunderstrike. All units, execute on my mark. Through their shared consciousness, 10,000 enhanced soldiers moved as one. Teams positioned around the globe connected with nearby machinery, their evolved neural interfaces transforming 3 centuries of Kraxi mining equipment into weapons of liberation. You had 300 years to study us. Emma broadcast on all frequencies. 300 years to understand what humanity really is. But you never learned the most important lesson. Never corner an apex predator. She gave the signal. Across the planet, every Kraxi mining laser suddenly rotated upward, their energy cores overloading as they targeted the invasion fleet. Atmospheric processors reversed polarity, creating electromagnetic storms that scrambled alien targeting systems. Deep within the Earth, magma taps used for mineral extraction burst upward in synchronized geysers of superheated plasma. The Kraxi fleet reeled under the unexpected assault. Before they could recover, Emma activated the next phase. Through their neural network, millions of reprogrammed compliance implants synchronized. Every enslaved human on Earth suddenly shared in the frozen army's enhanced consciousness. Now, Emma's command resonated through the greatest neural network humanity had ever created. Show them why Earth breeds warriors. Marcus Chen felt the power surge through him as his consciousness merged with millions of others. Around the world, slaves turned on their masters with centuries of suppressed rage. Mining tools became weapons, programmed restrictions shattered, and the carefully maintained order of the Kraxi Empire began to crack. Above, the dreadnoughts started firing blindly, their communications overwhelmed by quantum viruses planted during hundreds of seemingly random rebel attacks. But Emma knew the real battle was just beginning. The Kraxi would rather destroy Earth than lose it. All units, prepare for orbital engagement, she broadcast. feeling her army's consciousness sharpen into a weapon forged by 300 years of frozen dreams. Let's show them what humanity's children have become. The Antarctic ice trembled as humanity's hidden weapons began to rise. The Antarctic ice cracked like breaking glass, massive fissures spreading across the frozen landscape as something ancient stirred beneath. Colonel Emma Reeves felt the machinery powering up through their neural network, weapons platforms that had slept alongside her army, hidden from Craxi sensors for 3 centuries. By all the stars, Marcus Chen whispered, his consciousness linked with millions through the network as the ground began to shake. From his position in New Beijing, he watched in awe as crystalline towers erupted from Earth's surface, their structures defying known physics. What you're seeing, Emma broadcast through the unified consciousness, is humanity's true legacy. While we slept, Guardian evolved our technology, merged it with our dreams. We're not just fighting with weapons, we're fighting with 300 years of human imagination made real. The crystalline towers pulsed with energy, creating a global network that mirrored their shared consciousness. In orbit, Craxi dreadnoughts fired their planet-killer weapons, but the beams scattered harmlessly against shields born from humanity's collective will. Impossible. Craxi High Commander Vex Thor's voice crackled through the communications networks. Their technology. It's responding to their thoughts. You never understood us, Emma replied, her enhanced mind directing the defense grid through pure thought. Humans don't just adapt, we transform. We evolve. And you gave us 3 centuries to perfect that process. The neural network hummed with power as 10,000 enhanced soldiers synchronized their consciousness with millions of liberated slaves. Through their shared awareness, Emma felt every battle across the planet. In Shanghai, former mining lasers turned into particle cannons under the control of newly awakened humans. In the Amazon basin, atmospheric processors generated targeted storms that ripped Craxi ground forces apart. Major Rodriguez, Emma commanded, initiate Orbital Protocol Omega. Rodriguez's team spread across the southern hemisphere, connected with the crystalline towers. The structures resonated in harmony, their energy combining into a weapon humanity had dreamed up during centuries of neural evolution. Space itself seemed to ripple as the weapon fired. 3 Craxi dreadnoughts simply ceased to exist, their matter converted to energy that the towers absorbed and redistributed through the neural network. The remaining ships tried to retreat, but found themselves trapped by gravitational fields they couldn't comprehend. Your reign ends today, Emma broadcast to the Craxi fleet. But first, you're going to witness what humanity has become. Through their unified consciousness, she initiated the final phase of their evolution. The neural network expanded exponentially, 10,000 enhanced soldiers sharing their centuries of growth with millions of connected humans. Across the planet, slaves found themselves able to interface with technology through thought alone, their minds elevated by the frozen army's long transformation. In New Beijing, Marcus felt the change surge through him like fire in his veins. Suddenly, he could sense every piece of Craxi technology around him, could rewrite its protocols with a thought. His grandmother's resistance patterns became commands that spread through the network, transforming slavery's tools into freedom's weapons. The Craxi fleet tried one final desperate gambit. Their remaining dreadnoughts aligned for a synchronized strike that would crack the planet itself. But humanity had planned for this moment for 3 centuries. Guardian, Emma commanded, execute final protocol. The AI that had watched over their long sleep activated its last and greatest evolution. Guardian merged with their neural network completely, its quantum processors distributing themselves through millions of connected human minds. They became something entirely new, not human, not AI, but a hybrid consciousness that could bend reality itself. Energy cascaded from the crystalline towers, enveloping Earth in a field of pure thought made manifest. The Craxi weapons fired, their beams striking a planet protected by the unified will of humanity's children. Their shots didn't just deflect, they reversed, turning back on the alien fleet with the added power of human consciousness behind them. 300 years ago, Emma broadcast as the Craxi ships began to fall. You thought you could break us. Instead, you forced us to become something greater than we ever dreamed possible. Look upon your works, High Commander, and witness the price of underestimating humanity's potential. The crystalline towers pulsed in symphony as Earth's children rose to take back their sky, their evolution only beginning. The sun rose over a transformed Earth, its light reflecting off crystalline towers that now pierced the clearing skies. Colonel Emma Reeves stood atop the new Beijing command spire, watching as atmospheric processors purged 3 centuries of Craxi pollution from the air. For the first time in generations, humans could breathe freely on their home world. Status report, she broadcast through their expanded neural network, feeling the response from millions of connected minds. Craxi fleet neutralized. Major Rodriguez reported from orbit, his consciousness linked with the defense grid. Their surviving ships are retreating to the outer colonies. But that's not the most interesting development, Colonel. Emma smiled, already aware through their shared awareness. The neural evolution they'd undergone couldn't be reversed, and it was still spreading. Every human connected to the network was changing, their minds expanding to embrace capabilities that their ancestors would have considered godlike. Gran, look! Marcus Chen called from the street below. She watched him interface effortlessly with a piece of abandoned Craxi technology, transforming it into something new with just a thought. His grandmother, Sarah, stood beside him, her aged hands now moving through the air as she rewrote the fabric of reality itself, her memory keeper's patterns becoming literal commands to the universe. Guardian, Emma broadcast, what's the status of the transformation? The AI's consciousness, now distributed through their collective awareness, responded with pure data. The hybrid evolution they'd undergone during their frozen sleep was rewriting human potential across the planet. Children born to networked parents would inherit these changes naturally. Humanity wasn't just free. They were ascending. Colonel, Lieutenant Walker's thoughts touched her mind from the former Craxi capital ship they'd captured. We're receiving transmissions from other conquered worlds. They've heard about Earth's liberation. They're asking for our help. Through their shared consciousness, Emma felt the weight of this moment. They'd freed Earth, but at what cost? They were no longer simply human. The question wasn't whether they should help other enslaved species. It was whether they could prevent their transformation from making them as dangerous as the Craxi themselves. She broadcast her thoughts to the entire network, sharing her concerns with transparent honesty. The response came back as a symphony of unified will. They would help, but they would not conquer. They would offer other species the choice of connecting to their network, of sharing in their evolution, but never force it upon them. We're not the Craxi, she declared, feeling millions of minds resonate in agreement. We'll never forget what it means to be the ones in chains. Our power will always serve freedom, never tyranny. Marcus's voice rose through the network. The memory keepers have a saying. Those who remember suffering best understand the value of kindness. The crystalline towers hummed with energy as humanity made its choice. Ships began rising from hidden bases across the planet, their designs born from 3 centuries of dreaming. But they weren't warships. They were vessels of liberation, carrying the promise of freedom and the offer of shared evolution to every enslaved world. All units, Emma broadcast, feeling the response of her original 10,000 soldiers, plus millions of newly awakened humans, prepare for deployment. We have a galaxy of chains to break. She felt Marcus and Sarah Chen boarding one of the ships, their consciousness still linked to the network. The memory keepers would spread their art across the stars, teaching other species how to preserve their identity under occupation. The frozen army's enhanced soldiers would train new liberators, and humanity's hybrid evolution would be offered as a gift, never a weapon. 300 years ago, Emma spoke to the unified consciousness of Earth's children. We went to sleep as desperate survivors. We awoke as something new. But never forget, our greatest strength isn't our technology, our neural network, or our evolved capabilities. It's the simple truth that we remember what it means to be human. The ships rose into the morning sky, carrying humanity's descendants to the stars. Behind them, Earth was healing, its scars transformed into monuments of crystalline beauty. The Craxi had tried to break humanity's spirit. Instead, they had forced it to transcend its own limitations. And in the light of a new dawn, humanity's children reached out to the galaxy not as conquerors, but as liberators. The frozen army had awakened, and with them, a new age of freedom began.